Right, hello, folks. Welcome to Radio FM 88 Australia, broadcasting this time from Hurricane and Crete. As you realise, I did find a private library, but it's been swamped by American evangelists. So they're doing a baptism of their purchases. In the meantime, I'll hand it over to Andrina and I'll mute myself. Best laid plans go Australia. All right.
Okay. Oh, right. Here we go again. Okay. Good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you are in the world. It's the 26th of September, 2024. Today I am coming from a place called Ginger Hill in Haverfordwest in Wales, which has been, I've only been here a couple of days and I've been on a whistle stop tour and it's been amazing. So leaving later today. Jeff is on a cruise in Crete. They've just all got on the cruise. So fingers crossed for a good signal whilst the show goes on. There's a lot of background noise, so hence he's muted himself. So swiftly moving on, it is my great pleasure and privilege to have Andras, Maros and Mayana Kingery. I hope I said that right. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so glad to be here, Andrina.
Yeah, so I'm really, I love the grandmother work that you do. And I know that you've got so much knowledge and wisdom to share between you. So I'm not going to waffle on too much, but I know that you're founders and co-founders of Peace. And also, Andras, I saw that it came up as a Heartist. And I thought, well, that's not a word I know. So would you like to share a little bit about that? And this is all about you guys. So you can share or start wherever you like, because there's so many aspects to cover here. So can I hand it over to you? And who would like to start to share?
Oh, you start. Yeah.
Well, good morning, world.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. Yes, you mentioned Heartists. Yes, it's a new word. It's a word that came to me new. I'm not sure if it's completely unique, because as Providence would have it, if one of us thinks of something, it's somewhere else as well.
Yeah.
I really believe that. But how it came to me, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to live my entire life in art of some kind, in the creative endeavors of painting, sculpting, music, theater, all of it. If there's something else, I probably have done it. I was born in Budapest, Hungary, and so the correct pronunciation of my name is Andras.
Sorry, I should have asked you first, and I apologize. But with all that's happening,
no apologies needed. My name, coming from Hungary, has been, and I've been all over, and it's been pronounced so many different ways, so it doesn't really matter. When I first came here, people started calling me Andrew, and they thought that I'd want to Americanize my name, but it's in English that it's pronounced Andras. Most people do. But anyway, so I at some point I recognized that that the creative process really begins in the heart, and if it's expressed in such a way that what it's supposed to do for the world, or for anybody that hears it, is to make their life a little better. And that's the direction that my artwork has, whatever I did, whether I played music, it's always coming from my heart. And if it comes from my heart, then I think it connects with the audience. Of course, if it's a visual art, then it still connects that way. If it comes from the heart, and so I just immediately, that when I really deeply realized that, then I said, well, as long as it comes from the heart, then it's really the art of the heart that we're talking about. That's the essential part. And it just naturally came into calling myself a heartist.
And it wasn't just a heartist. It's a heartist in resonance, because everything is frequency. And so that resonating together, and just when we had our cosmic encounter in 2012, we just, it was an immediate resonance. It's like, here we are. Yeah. It was immediate and instant, and we each knew who we are and why we're here. And we're waiting, we weren't waiting, but we were watching to see if another would show that was in the same knowing. And there we were. We just kind of had this cosmic interaction in Jackson Wellsprings in Oregon. We met at a Prana Fest in late 2012. So actually in 4 days, it'll be 12 years.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Yeah. It's the cycle of 12. 2012 was such a big shifting moment in the world. And for us to come together, and then for 12/12, 2012 and 12/21, 2012, we were actually in New Jersey taking care of his 90-year-old mother and stepfather, and putting the old man and the old woman to bed as the new man and the new woman in 2012. And then this last 12 years has just been the journey into the next cycle. And here we are. Wow.
Yeah. Have you got time to pause for breath?
Oh, yes.
What?
Yeah. Tell about the breath.
Oh, the breath work. The breath. Well, without it, we wouldn't be here.
No.
It's all just blowing out and breathing in, and of course, that's I just said that, blowing out first, because it is really important to empty ourselves. And in the practice, I'm a Kriya Yogi, which is the yoga of breath. Kriya is the yoga of breath. That is named that way. I don't know if the Art of Living Foundation is the originator of the practice that we both do. Actually, we both are practitioners of that. Art of Living Foundation was founded in India by His Holiness Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, and we both had a very unusual meeting with this person
individually before we met.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The universe at work.
Yes.
And I had become a teacher with the foundation, and had traveled around quite a bit, different places. The original course where I met the founder was in Montreal, Canada, and but I actually was living in California at the time, and many of the practices became in California, and that's where it began for me. So the breath work, very simply, without it,
Here.
Well, and I have a perspective that when you take that first breath is when the soul enters the body.
Mm.
Then God breathed into Adam and he became a living soul. In that scripture text, there's a lot about how the breath is vital.
Yeah. Of course, the spiritual aspects of the rhythm of life, of the true rhythm of life that becomes the resonance, and it really it has become one of those things that once you begin and you really follow the knowledge behind the ancient knowledge behind the breath work, it becomes a very natural opening of your consciousness to see what's it all about. What is this? What is life all about? And that's how I've managed to stay in the joy of life, because of that very simple fact of just really being able to fully appreciate the first breath that I take every morning. And wow, it just becomes ingrained. So I'm very grateful for having received that knowledge. I'm not going to go into that because that's not what this is all about.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
maybe you should tell when we first met. So you started to talk about the prana.
Oh, do you want to hear about our meeting?
Because the word prana itself is, of course, that's what it is. Breathing techniques, prana. And
the life force in the air that comes into our body, and we can use our consciousness to direct it. So the wisdom behind the breath is the power of using your mind with your breath and the life force energy to heal anything within you that you need to. I healed from fibromyalgia, but that's not that story. So
Yes,
so in
lots of stories.
Yes. So in 2012, there was the first Prana Fest. It was a little festival at the Jackson Well Springs, little hot springs in Ashland, Oregon. And I went to this festival with a friend, knowing that my next best thing was going to reveal to me at this festival. I had cleared my life. I had done my inner work. I was ready to move forward and serve the world in a good way. And it was a little 4-day festival. And we got through to Sunday night, the very last concert, and I didn't have my answer. As they were setting up the concert, I'm sitting there and I'm meditating, just waiting to receive. I'm watching everywhere. Where do I respond to? And as I'm meditating, I noticed somebody's walking up. My friends have all left. We had the dance floor set up and they were all gone because they had long drives to leave to get home. And someone walks up and is taking some pictures. And I thought, well, I hope they don't get in the way of the dancing. Probably pretty good spot for photography. Then I hear this voice say, "Oh, excuse me, I'm stepping on your blanket." And I look up and there's this beautiful man standing there all in off-white with a camera around his neck. And, my first thought was, oh, he understands sacred space. I had set a space and I appreciated that. But I looked at him and I said, well, I've been dancing on it for 4 days. I think it's okay if you step on it. And he dropped down, immediately got eye to eye with me and said, well, this is a cosmic encounter. Who are you?
Oh, lovely.
And I was, I was looking for my response, but I wasn't interested in playing games, and I wasn't looking for a guy. I was looking for my work. And so I kind of took a deep breath and I said, well, are you interested in who I am as a human, or do you really want to know who I am? And he said, oh, I want to know it all.
Yeah.
So I took a deep breath and I claimed who I embody. And I said, well, I am Ra, Queen of Light from Arcturus, and Inanna of the Pleiades. And he leaned in and he said, I'm Melchizedek. Now, in that moment, you would have to know my history, because Melchizedek is my inner guide. And I know the face of Melchizedek. And I've heard a lot of people claim to be Melchizedek, and I've never seen that face on anyone before. And when he claimed it, the face I knew from my meditations was on his face. It popped out in front, and I knew it was true. And
lovely.
Yeah, Melchizedek told me that one day I'd be able to touch his face. And here's this face in front of me that I could reach up and touch. And I didn't do it. I didn't reach up and touch it yet. I took a deep breath. I was like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. And I just said, well, and sometimes I bring through other beings, Inanna or Isis and White Buffalo Woman and a variety of other beings. I bring them through. And he kind of got this grin on his face and leaned in and said, and I'm Peter Pan. Now, he wouldn't have known that 2 years prior, when I was at my sacred mountain in Mount Shasta, California, I went regularly for my inner journeys there and met Melchizedek there. 2 years prior, he said, I'm going to give you to Peter Pan. You need to get to know Pan. And I'm like, what? You're giving me away? I was offended. I don't want to be given away. But in that journey, I could see this being popping out of the trees and looking at me. And I started getting to know Pan. And I got to know him as Pan of Gaia, not the Peter Pan story, but King of the Elementals. Mm-hmm. And what in my awakening, I was raised in fundamentalist Christianity. And during my awakening, I had an experience one time where I was taken into earth, into a cell. It was a concrete room, a cinder block room in earth that had been created. And there was this being on a concrete throne at one end of the room. There were no windows. And an angel took me to the door, and I opened the door and saw the King of the Elementals. But his head was all beastly and I couldn't understand, well, why am I here? And why does the King of the Elementals look like that? Because he's so beautiful. And what is going on? And he got down off the throne and walked over to me and took my hands. And he said, I need you to free me. I was like, how am I going to do that? And he just said, you just go live your life, and when the moment comes, you'll know it. And here's this man in front of me claiming that being that I know. And I was done for. I'm like, okay, this is my next. Okay, here we go. And then I find out, as we talked that evening, I found out he was born to bombs in Budapest, Hungary. And that made perfect sense. So there's a story. I have to back up a little bit, because as I left Mount Shasta that time, the woman I was traveling with said, oh, I just got this channeling. You have to hear it. She knew my story. Oh, Karen Bright in Melbourne. Hi, Grandma Karen. She this story, she put this channeling on of Pan of Gaia. And he tells the story of how when humans kill humans, the elemental being dies out of the fourth dimension and is sucked into a human body. And after World War II, there was so much destruction that Pan had to choose to either go into human form to find his family and regather everyone, or go start somewhere else. And all of creation was like, oh, what's going to happen here? Because the first time a human killed another human, it was a shock. No one knew that that would happen. And so here by the end of World War II, all these humans killing each other, there's nothing left but black sticky goo in the fourth dimension in the astrals. So here's this man, and I realized that he embodied to the bombs, and that's why his head looked beastly. It was the pain of being in the cell. He was in a cell, and story made sense. That whole experience made sense to me then, and we just were like, okay, here we are. We both know why we're here and what we're here to do. Let's go find our gnomes and elves and fairies and create a safe space so we can live in the world again and stop all this killing. So that's why peace production, you know.
What a story.
Yeah, Mayana just kind of mentioned that I was born to bombs, but that's literally true. My mother was, I was born on April 30th, 1944, which is exactly a year. And it was the day of the first bombing of Budapest. And it was I guess it was a year and a day before the end of World War II. And so my mother was literally in the only hospital that was really operating for the public instead of the soldiers, was in this Jewish hospital. And the top of the hospital, the top floor, had this glass dome, as she explained it to me, that she was, where the glass dome was, of course, for the light, for the operating and everything. And she was strapped in, ready to give birth.
You know, in stirrups, legs up, strapped in. You know.
Against gravity.
Yeah.
And she's looking up at this dome, and the airplanes started going by, dropping bombs. She literally was watching the bombs coming down. And of course, within a few minutes, everything was just crazy. And it's like the pictures that we see of
Ukraine
in wherever the bombings are going on. Unfortunately, it's that's what she was born to. And of course, everybody scattered, and so I was actually born unattended. She couldn't even, from what she tells me, that I was hanging down by my umbilical cord. And so,
could you imagine? Oh,
of course, she told that story a number of times in my early youth. And over the years, it kept blossoming out to the incredible meaning of that moment. Of course, none of it is in real memory for me, but we know now that cellular memory is incredibly powerful. So the story is important, is because that is what has been my energetic push all my life, is why can't people get along? Why is this? What's the fuss? Why is everybody constantly fighting? And of course, as we know now, today, even today, it's still going on, and but we're putting out the energies, and I believe that we're at a point where it is either going to happen, or we all be in the permanent peace, because this is going to end it all. So you know, I mentioned my birthday, so I just had my 80th birthday in this April past, and my 8 decades walking around on this planet has just really filled me with just incredibly deep gratitude for what an opportunity that each of us have to be able to experience what life is all about. What's it all about, Alfie?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, you know, all these things in music and in theater, and it just why really it's not about why can't we get along. So the question becomes, how can we? How can we all get along?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and when we realized who we are and what we're doing, Peace Production was born. That was his name for the. We both knew we wanted nonprofit, that we wanted our work to be nonprofit. And Peace Production is because, as he says, there's only one peace to produce, and that's in the heart of humanity. So that is our mission. And we've had 2 calls to go through the heart of Mother Earth. In 2017 was the first call where, you know, when I got a download from Mount Shasta when we were there in 2016 that we were supposed to go through the heart. Now, I knew about the heart in Glastonbury and Chalice Well. I knew about that. But I was getting this message that, well, that's the masculine heart. And the Chalice Well is the feminine spot within the masculine heart. But there's a feminine heart, and it's in Hungary. So, you know, I was looking for confirmation online, you know, because we look for confirmation. You know, after a while, I finally found there was a group of people that said from Hungary, they were the original people with the original language, and they're the heart. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll just go, we'll explore it, and we'll see what happens. And then as we're planning the journey, the Dalai Lama went to this place called Dobogokör, Hungary. It actually means, that word means heart beating stone. And it's right. So as the Danube comes from Vienna, it makes a little shape like that, and then it goes south. So it goes east-west, makes a little dip, and south. And Dobogokör is right at that dip, right in the center of that heart. If you look on a map, it's a heart. And the Dalai Lama went there and said, you can hear the heartbeat of the mother from this stone.
Wow.
So we went on this journey, and the purpose of the journey, the first one, was to open the mother's heart, because it had been closed down because of all the wars and Stalin communism and all of that. So we had this wonderful journey, and we experienced some really wonderful things there. And then by the time we got home, the Me Too movement was in full force. And it's like, wow, okay, the feminine is rising. And then this spring we were called to go again. And this time it was about merging the masculine and feminine together. And by the time, and when we got home, 2 weeks before we left. Okay, so I'm gonna back up again, because I have to back up sometimes.
Yeah, I understand.
So we had a call with some friends, 2 friends that we know, Heidi Little and Marcine Quenzer, didn't know each other, but I had a call with the 2 of them because they both had the same Native American teacher, Rainbow Thunderheart. And I had heard them both say, I have a piece of his teachings, but I don't know where the rest of it is. And I got to put them together. And we got together on this call. And out of that call came, oh, we need to do global medicine wheels. We need to do 3 waves. So we scheduled the first wave of a global medicine wheel, which means wherever you are, you could be an acupuncture point and just be aware of it on that day. So the first wheel was on World Water Day. The second medicine wheel was on Earth Day. And on Earth Day, we were in Glastonbury at the Masculine Heart and at Chalice Well and the Tor. And then there was going to be 2 months before the third wheel, which was International Children's Day in June. And just before we left for Europe, so maybe 2 weeks before the Earth Day, I got a call from Michelle Margaret Juliet in Australia. And I didn't know this woman. It was a Facebook Messenger. And I don't usually take messenger calls from people I don't know, but I felt I need to respond to this call at 11:30 at night. Like, really? But I took her call and she told me about this Facebook group that she had started working with called the Global Grandmothers Council Network. And she said, I was awakened at 3 a.m. and guided to go to my phone and to go onto YouTube. And usually I go on Facebook, but I was guided to YouTube. And I saw this interview of you with your friend Ali Bierman, and you're talking about the work that you do and how you've worked with governments and you've worked with metaphysical, and you're the one. I needed to find you, and you're the one, and I needed to bring you to the Global Grandmothers. So I said, oh, well, that's great. And I saw the group and I joined the group. And then we went on our Heartists journey, and she and I stayed in contact through the journey. And when we returned, she introduced me to the founder, one of the 2 founders of the group, Suzanne Lewis. Now, nobody really knew that Suzanne Lewis is in Boise, Idaho. And before I met Andras, I lived in Boise, Idaho, and I called Circle there. And I had a big community there that, due to a life change experience, I had to leave. But I didn't know Suzanne. She knows all the same people I know, but I didn't know her. And Michelle put us together, and we had the opportunity to adopt the Global Grandmothers Council Network. Now, okay, so in February, when Michelle started with the group, there were like 1,900 members. By the time she called me, there were 20,000.
Wow.
When we returned from Europe, there were 55,000 members. And with Peace Production, we adopted the group. We made it a program of our organization and offered it 501c3 status. And we started meeting with the leading grandmothers. Okay, what do we want to do? Well, what does this mean? What do we see? And everyone wanted to move off of Facebook because Facebook isn't as safe a place. So we're looking at how can we create a website or a platform that is a place where the global grandmothers can meet. And the purpose isn't just that I'm a grandma and I have grandchildren. No. I don't have grandchildren, but it's about the wisdom of the Indigenous grandmothers and how they were honored and were the ones that made the choices in the tribes. So we started planning for this website. And then about 2 weeks into the looking and searching, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Grandmother Sharon Raji Maynard, who she and Suzanne Lewis were the founders of the group, says, oh, I was just referred to this woman in Mount Shasta who was called for the last 10 years by the grandmothers to build them a website. Oh. The grandmothers on the other side of the veil have been working with her for 10 years. So she's been doing this work. She's in Mount Shasta and I'm not there anymore. So, you know, that's just another matrix key thing. And we contact her, and she has this brand new platform ready to launch. And she can clone it and make one for the Global Grandmothers Council Network.
Fantastic.
And it's not just a website. It's a platform. It's interactive. We can have social media stream groups just like on Facebook. We have an event calendar. We can invite everyone to come and join this platform. We'll have an academy. We have a marketplace. It's searchable by location. You can find your grandmothers near you. If you're traveling, you can find grandmothers where you're traveling. And we're gathering and preserving the wisdom of all these grandmothers. And we're going to be making books and curriculum and all kinds of things. But for now, we have the landing page. We had a pre-launch going on right now. So on 9/9, we had a pre-launch start. And you can go to join.globalgrandmotherscouncil.org. And there's a lot of benefits if you sign up early before our full launch, which is scheduled for 10/10. And we may have a soft launch then and push it a little bit out because of technology necessities and funding. So we are. Oh, Karen Richardson says she did a medicine wheel for Blue Thunder in her garden in England. Blue Thunder, Rainbow, Thunderheart, same person. He had several different names, so she knew the same native elder. So the launch is happening as we speak, and on Sunday, we're just about $2,000 short of our funding. We've been doing really well, but we're $2,000 short. So on Sunday, the 29th, we're having some live stream events in the Facebook group where we're interviewing some of the grandmothers and just promoting that we need donations. I mean, $2,000. That's such a small amount, really.
Yeah.
From 55,000 grandmothers, we should be able to find that 2,000 pretty easily.
I'm sure you will.
More. and then on that day, we're also launching a Give Butter auction, silent auction that will run for a week after. So it's just such an honor to be doing this work and meeting these grandmothers all over the world. And you know, the question came up of with the shift into a new earth, how do we get there?
No.
Hold on. Jeff.
Thank you.
I have to get him. Jeff, can you mute yourself? Jeff, can you mute?
There we go.
Right. Sorry. Right.
So the grandmothers have to rise up first,
totally.
because they're the ones that have been pushed down, and they're the ones who've done their work, and they're the ones that are ready, and they know they have the knowledge, the wisdom, the inspiration. And if we're going to feed the world, we have to have a garden to grow the food. So our whole platform is based on Grandmother's Garden. And
that's lovely.
Yeah, the exciting thing to me about it, because the multidimensional aspects of this are really important. So as the humans, we are integrating third, fourth, and fifth dimension in our physical forms right now. That's what this new earth means, is that we are integrating more multidimensional. We're becoming aware of our multidimensional aspects. So Grandmother's Garden is actually created in the astral realm as a safe place where we can go and be. It's no longer that dark, sticky, gooey place because we've done a lot of work to clear it. And we're meeting in the cloud, in the clouds. That's the fifth dimension, is the clouds. So here we are, Grandmother's Garden on a web platform, merging all those different things together.
Wow. That's phenomenal what's coming together. And so, like you say, now we're in the greatest time of history. We are in the change, and everything is like really moving and speeding up. And it's so important to be centered, be grounded, be in your heart, do your breath work. And interestingly, last weekend, the equinox weekend, I got a lovely rainbow just appeared out there. I won't if I turn it around, it might disappear. Anyway, yeah, and I've just done a Journeys into the Heart weekend, all day Saturday and Sunday. So in Glastonbury, in all these different time zones and God knows what else. So that was really powerful. It was lovely. So yeah, so more and more people are connecting via the heart, more having awareness or awakening, whatever you want to say. More and more people are coming together now, and not prepared to how can I say it, listen to a lot of things that are not the truth.
Right.
Putting it in a nutshell.
And it's been such a joy. We're meeting on Zoom, these grandmothers, as we're building an organizational structure for this organization, for the Grandmothers Council. And we are councils of councils, and we're using spheres as our imaging, the spheres that work together. And I'll tell you, every single Zoom we have together is united in purpose, united in heart. There are no competitions.
Yeah.
And every choice that we make is fully accepted. If somebody has a real strong reaction, we listen. Oh, why are you having that reaction? How can we shift this?
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen very often. And it's just such a joy to finally be working together, hand in hand, heart to heart, eye to eye, seeing the same things, speaking the same things, and hearing each other's perspective of those same things that can shift our perspective.
Mm.
And speaking of perspectives and connections, the connection of all of this with the Indigenous grandmothers, the original 13 Indigenous grandmothers, of whom we were lucky to meet Grandma Agnes in Ashland, Oregon. This is the time when the past 2,000 years of patriarchal rule.
More than that. 10,000.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Who knows? Maybe even more. But anyway, so, but certainly coming out of that energetic, violent background, and going towards the real essence of who we are, and finding out that the reality, the real truth is that we are all Indigenous. And what we must find out in this journey from our head to our heart is the connection to Mother Earth. So we are all Indigenous to Mother Earth. I call that our indigenosity, waking up indigenosity. That it's just another separation that doesn't have to really be upfront, because that's what separates people. When these, well, you're that, and of course, it's if it's looked at like, wow, look at the variety. Look at this beautiful, divergent place that we're living in.
Mm.
And the people and all the colors, literally all the colors of people, in not only in their skin colors, but in what they wear, and all the traditions and all this beautiful. It's all theater. It's all fun and it's all play, and we just need to write a new script for this movie that that we're projecting, and anyway, so that's how this whole thing began. And the piece production, the word production, I was in Los Angeles for 16 years in the film business, and I was an actor and producer, and I've directed some stuff, but it just gave a highlight to what people. The only thing people do is produce things. That's what we do. We produce. Unfortunately, even wars are called productions. They call it the theater of this war, the theater. These words are used in even in the wars, and so that's why I use the word production, peace production, because peace needs to be produced. And so here we are.
And it's a culture. It's a living culture that it's like a kombucha or a sourdough. It's that culture. It's living, and you have to be sure that all of the elements are there that help it grow, and certain elements can kill it, can stop the growth. So you have to be really careful that the container holds it safely and carefully in our hearts. And, we were talking about the indigenosity, and we are all indigenous to Mother Earth. And our nativity is in the stars because we're all stardust. And we each have lineages. When I say I'm Queen Rayta, Queen of Light from Arcturus, that's not an ego thing. It's a lineage. It's an exploration I've done of my own self to know where I came from and where I'm going and why I'm here, that enables me now to do this work that feels like my dharma, that this is my privilege to be leading this group of grandmothers. And I could say, well, why me? Well, because I'm the one that was trained and brought here. Why not? Why not me?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get on any of the Zooms yet of, where you'll get together, because obviously I've been traveling around and I still got a lot of traveling to do, but hopefully at some point I will. But how many members can come on the platform at one time?
Well, we don't really know. It's coming really slowly. So Facebook is hindering our ability to even communicate with our members. So we have 55,000 members, but reaching them is a whole nother story. So the pre-launch will help us because this is a new technology. The platform we're using, we're blending two different technologies, and it's never been done before. So we're good with slow growth, and we're being real careful with how we hold it and how we integrate all of our wisdom. So anyone who signs up now will be always featured on our legacy page. And we're really trusting that the grandmothers on both sides of the veil are going to really do this in a natural, healthy, holistic way And we don't have concerns about those kind of things because it's growing slowly. And if we just add a few leaders every month, great. We just keep adding. And in a few months, it's going to be so rich and full. It'll be just so exciting, and won't even want to be on the Facebook group so much anymore. That'll still remain a funnel, and we'll cross-pollinate and bring people from Facebook to the website. But our Facebook group, there's no promotions on the Facebook group, but there will be from the Global Grandmothers Council Network.
What was I going to say then? Oh, because Jeff, obviously, normally he's putting up all the links and everything. So we'll share the links afterwards. So what was the one for people to sign up? Because I can add that as well.
Join, JOIN Global Grandmothers Council Network. Sorry. Join.globalgrandmotherscouncil.org.
Hang on. Mothers. Yeah, because normally puts that up. So we'll get that put up and share it. And then if I can help in any way, please let me know. But
there's also a link for donations with Stripe or PayPal. There's an image with the donation links, little QR codes.
Yeah, I think I got that in the bottom of so we'll put that up and share for you. Yeah, so keep going. I know.
Well, okay, so with coming into this group, and as we were listening and we gathered the values from the grandmothers and we spent some weeks just really listening to them, they wanted a private space. It was a public group, and there were men and women, and we were having a lot of challenging interactions with some of the bots and the men that were not from the heart. And we made the collective decision to make the group private. And then we spent about 3 weeks weeding the garden.
Yeah.
So we went from 55,500 down to 55,000, and that's okay. We got rid of a whole bunch of unhealthy things that were ruining the garden. And with that, Andras started a group for the men. So it's called the Heartists, Heartists, Heartists on Facebook, as a place for the men to start gathering who support the grandmothers. And as we grow, there will be a platform identical to the grandmothers platform for the men. And it may be called grandmothers. It may be, grandfathers. It may be, it doesn't matter. It's elders. We're Heartists. Yeah. And it may be just men and it may not be. It may be anyone. But we'll have the ability to have the private space for grandmothers, which is vital because there are so many who need healing. And in that healing space, there cannot be men because there's just been so much. There's a live Zoom next Monday, the 30th at 9 a.m. Yes, there is. And Karen Bright is going to be on it.
Oh, right.
She's one of our grandmothers that's featured for our live stream. Sunday, Monday in Australia, Sunday in the US and UK.
Fabulous. Gosh, you're certainly branching out. And when you say about the gardens growing slowly, it's like, when a flower starts blooming, you can't make it open up before it's time. It's all in divine order or creation or whatever, eh?
Yes. And we can't think that we know what it's going to look like because we don't know what it'll look like. It's got a life force of its own. Our job is to nurture it and provide everything that the garden needs to flourish and to provide the wisdom for the world. And we have a big vision. Our vision is that we're going to gather all of our wisdom and take it to the UN and say, this is what we need to do in the world. Take it to governments, take it to local and national places, and really find ways to let the voices of wisdom be heard, honored, and respected.
Yeah. Magic.
Interestingly enough, we watched an astrological report. I'll give him a plug. He goes by name of Kepacha, and he puts out an astrological report every Wednesday. So we just listened to it earlier this night. It was yesterday, Wednesday. And he reminded in this particular report, he reminded everybody, his audience, that this is really a very powerful moment in the astrals, in the real world of the universe. All of these energies are coming together, and it's been recognized by most of the famous or prophesied
For
professors, the major professors, that this time is a major shift in humanity's evolution. And of course, unfortunately, we've been the moving force in the world for the big changes. Unfortunately, mostly because of wars, but there have been some beautiful things that have been built and created, not only in the world of art, but in every which way, in gardens. Literally in gardens. So we're this is the movement that we are asking everyone, all living things to come together in this shift in basically in consciousness, and all we have to do is wake up to our own consciousness. It sounds, in a way, it's simpler than it sounds, and in a way, it involves all the complications that there are, because this is such an incredibly diverse, and it has everything. People, when people say hello, say, "Hey, how you doing?" or something, and I don't take it lightly when somebody asks or say, "What's going on?" The reality is that I've recognized that everything that has ever gone on is still going on someplace on this planet or someplace in this universe. It's an ever ongoing evolution and devolution, because there are some things that are disappearing. There have been a number of different lives that have become extinct, and of course we hope that the better side of humanity does not go extinct. We don't extinguish ourselves, which is always a possibility, the way some of these crazies are
crazy.
So all we can do, and all we need to do, is to just look deep within and truly intend to be the best we can be individually, and using that intention for our connection with life.
Yeah, because I always say, how can I be the best version of me to help be others be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And it can be anything. It can be a smile. It can be a hug. You know, we don't have to go into, you know, all these dramas and all these different things. It's all about coming back to here and caring, sharing, and networking.
Yeah. So grandmother's calling. Come home. Come home. The Global Grandmothers Council Network Facebook group will be live at noon Eastern time in the US on Sunday, and 7 p.m. Eastern, which is the 9 a.m. in Australia on Monday. We'll be live, we'll be streaming, and we're just calling all the grandmothers, just come home. We're gathering together, and then we're going to see what we plant in the garden, and each individual part. And it's our physical presence and our resources and our time, our money, our everything is what builds the garden. So we just invite y'all to come to the Global Grandmothers Council Network.
Oh, that's magic.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute delight having you both on the show and sharing your wisdom and your blessings. So perhaps later on you'll come on and share a bit more how it's all opening up and what else is going on, because I know we've only touched on a few things, really, haven't we?
Right. Yeah, there's so much more. Thank you so much for having us and for inviting.
And I appreciate that you've come on at 5 a.m. in the morning. Well, it must be 6 a.m. for you now, mustn't it? So honestly, thank you for coming on at this unearthly hour on some level.
Namaste.
And thank you, Jeffrey, for all of your technical support in the background.
So if you would like to come back, you know, we'll put up your join the dots.
So I've had to come inside, so we're just running on the battery in the laptop.
He's running out of
need
cover.
to be in touch with so moving away from the island, so hence the phone coverage signals dropping out. It's been a pleasure. I've been listening to it all, and Andrina, you've done a superb job running the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I will send you the recording after the show, and would love to talk to you again. I'm wishing you, well, you don't need the luck. It's already there. The gardens, the seeds are already waiting to grow and flourish. So keep on doing what you're doing. And thank you once again. And for our listeners next week, there's not going to be a show because Jeff, I think, will be traveling back. And I'm going to be in Egypt from Sunday onwards. So, so we'll be in touch soon to let you know who's going to be on next. So Karen says, I ran a retreat called Have You Heard the Grandmother's Call last October. It's certainly
Well, she froze, I guess.
Rightio. It's good afternoon from here. Calamera is a good morning in Greek, but all the blessings to you. All right, Andrina, I think you're just frozen there, but thank you, Mayo and Andrea. They're brilliant, mate.
Thank you.
With blessings.
All right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.